Rock and roll. Kia ora, everybody. What's up? It is Robett. Morena. Welcome to Robett Live episode 286. We tried for Mike Tyson. We couldn't get him. We tried for Holyfield. Couldn't get him. Tried for David Tour. Couldn't get him. We just kept going down the line, and we just kept going and going and going. And we just ran out. But finally, we got to the one and only IT weapon, IT heavy hitter, who's about to fight this weekend. One of the bros, marketing ninja, that is also Jack Downs. How's that for an intro, mate?
Mate, not too bad.
Good, brother. How are you feeling? What's going on? You're about to, maybe let's start this. How would you describe yourself in the technology or marketing media landscape in New Zealand? Let's start there.
Cool. I'm digital marketing. Do everything under that umbrella. Been doing that for quite a few years. Skipped out on uni. Joined a small little company called The Instillery. Got my kickstart into the IT. Small little company called The Instillery.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it. Kickstarted my career, and now I'm running digital marketing at a company called Swaytech, helping out Kiwi businesses, which includes the New Zealand High Tech Awards, which is a pretty big deal at the moment.
100%. I've always been super impressed with your take and energy when it comes to the digital marketing side, and obviously now transitioning. You've got why we've got you on this week as well is, mate, you've lost like 20 kgs and you're about to go into a boxing event on Saturday, and I'm flipping hyped, dude. I sent you a message, and I honestly, if I could have been there with a flipping mascot, I would have come out guns blazing. I would have come in so hot to support. Quick question: how does someone go from digital marketing to want to jump in the ring and potentially box in front of a whole bunch of people? When I'm imagining professional boxing hasn't really been on your repertoire of the talented CV that is Jack Downs.
No, never been on the books. I threw a few punches in throughout my schooling, but we won't talk about that one. But apart from that, never been into professional boxing. I used to watch kickboxing a little bit. I used to live in Singapore, go to a few fights. Did it for about, I'd like to say a year, but I did it for about 2 weeks. And then got approached by Mike Dawes and the IT Heavy Hitters team last year. I moved in across the road from the Instillery and said, hey guys, called us out basically. Said, hey guys, do you want to throw someone in the ring? And good old Mike Jenkins threw me in the ring, which was nice. But then all that 2020 gave us, that was cancelled. And then we signed up again this year. So been 14 weeks, finished our training today, literally about 45 minutes ago, finished up, and fighting this weekend. It's a hell of a journey. But yeah, lost 20 kg in the last 6 months.
Dude, isn't it the wildest shit?
Mental. Absolutely mental.
I didn't lose 20. I lost 20 kgs over probably just under a year when I was doing it, but it was through, I've gone to the gym and all sorts of other stuff. But where I got the best results for me was team accountability with others. And it was actually through boxing. Like I was going to the boxing only 3 times a week and the rest of it. How is that fitness and actually journey done for your, Monty Beetham always would talks about, being like fighting fit, like mentally. Have you felt, simple question, losing 20 kgs, do you mentally feel sharper that a fit Jack Downs would beat a fat Jack Downs? Do you know what I mean? Like, talk me through that whole thing, because he tried to explain it to me for ages, and it wasn't until I went through it, then I was like, holy shit, you're flipping right. Talk me through that.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous, the difference that I felt. The whole point of this whole IT Heavy Hitters thing was for mental health awareness and suicide awareness in New Zealand, helping Mike King's foundation, the Key to Life Foundation. I'm Hope and all that. So a big part of this whole thing is the mental journey behind it, and it's been ridiculous. Today, I wouldn't say that I'm sharper. I've had a few punches to the head in the last few weeks, but apart from that, it absolutely opens your mind up to everything. Losing that 20 kgs makes life a lot easier. Makes me feel a lot healthier in general. Get out of bed in the morning. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning now. Used to struggle to get out of bed before 7:30. It's completely improved my lifestyle, which is fantastic. Yeah, and helped me at work. Waking up earlier, my brain's turned on earlier. Still having the coffee, but yeah,
and
it's great.
Losing 20 kegs, have you had to buy all new jeans and shit? Like, have you got a full
I have.
brand new wardrobe? Like,
Yes, I have.
You got a bit more metro.
Yeah.
You've got like slim cut. You're starting to throw a little scarf around, a little pocket square in the corners. And Bob's like,
Mate.
what the fuck?
Mate, I literally had to go and buy this jumper yesterday. I don't have any jumpers that fit me. It's getting starting to get cold. All my jumpers are extra larges. I'm going down to a medium. It's ridiculous.
Damn, good on you,
Yeah.
man. That's so epic. It's Did you find as well part of the reason was the team accountability of others for that commitment of that, like that bond mentality for the crew? Like, was there part of like a big team component in terms of the actual results that you've got? Because that was a big part for me, and I'm interested to see from your side how the dynamics of team and momentum togetherness actually help play a role in that too.
Yeah, the whole team thing, the whole whānau thing for the boxing has been absolutely key to the whole journey. Very well, small example. This morning was our last training session. We ended it with giving Shane Young, our coach, Panamu, and ending off with a hangi, and that was amazing. Just going around with the whole team. There's 40 odd of us. It's a whole family now. We're showing up on Friday to the weigh-ins all together, wearing our blue t-shirts, supporting the blue team, and then doing the same on Saturday on fight night. That's ridiculous. It's going to be hard not seeing them 3 days a week, but it's part of the whole thing.
Good on you, man. So we're jumping into the marketing landscape for a bit. What is the biggest thing right now in digital marketing, say in New Zealand, that the majority of businesses aren't looking at, aren't thinking about, don't even really know exists, that potentially could have the biggest disproportionate upside to their organizational business?
Yeah. Like I quite honestly think it's content. No one, everyone's got content. Everyone's looking at content. Like, for example, this yourself with the live streams. But getting the word out there, getting word of mouth, and all that is the biggest thing. Making sure your content's up to date, making sure your website's up to date, making sure you're pushing people in the right direction rather than pushing people towards something they don't want to read or they don't want to know about. The countless websites that you go to, that you look at, that you're like, this is great, but what the hell do you actually do? And all that mix. Yeah, I think content's the biggest. Content is key in these days, especially with the whole everything COVID wise. Everyone's used to reading shit online now and wanting to learn more.
Do you feel that when you look at the media landscape of New Zealand in terms of maybe digital spend or advertising, what do you think the current weakness in the system currently is in terms of digital spend or just marketing in general in New Zealand right now in 2021?
I honestly think that the focus needs to be more on. I'm a bit biased. I'm in the digital marketing. Focus needs to be more on getting the reach out there, making sure you're pushing your messages out there towards everyone, making sure you're spending in the right areas, not spending too much on things that people are telling you to spend stuff on, but more stuff that actually shows data. Data proves everything. Making sure that you've got all the proof behind what you're spending, and not wasting your cash on useless messaging.
What percentage of digital spend in 2021 do you feel has been wasted?
I'd say it's probably a good third. I'd say.
Oh wow!
Third.
Okay.
Yeah. Quite a big part for us at Swaytag is making sure that our customers have the right messaging before going out there. Quite a few customers come to us and we'll sort out the messaging first. We'll go through that whole process, make sure that their brand messaging is all okay, their values are all set, public facing values are all set, and then start pushing the brand.
Now, these bad decisions for, say, this weaker third spend, there always is a risk there. If they're essentially losing a third of it when it goes out the door, they actually don't feel that digital's given it the ROI, and they kind of lump in everything. If it's digital, they throw it all at it, and then they're like, nah, stuff it, we're going to go do ... How much of these bad decision makers are actually kind of lack of education from the business owners, or like what's the risk there, or what's the issue there that's causing that? Is it just like arrogance from the small business owner that thinks they're just chucking it at it and they don't want to embrace it? Is it fear? Is it like what are those levers which you feel are currently getting pulled, which is causing bad spend in the advertising space?
I think it's the legacy kind of stuff. Everyone's used to the old way of doing stuff. Stuff's changing a little bit now. everyone's half listening. Communication is key, and everyone's kind of going, okay, let's give this a go. If it doesn't work, let's just go back to how it was going, rather than push forward and actually work out what was going wrong. Yeah.
So, but to that point, do you feel that the majority of these small business owners are thinking of digital as a campaign? Like, hey, let's try it this quarter, and then let's see what happens. And then the ROI of that quarter dismisses an entire future, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's we said I've seen that quite a bit. And just hearing stories about it as well. It's the same. It's everyone throws their hat in into the ring for a little bit, and then just jumps right back up.
It's like, oh, we tried that Facebook thing. It doesn't work. Let's do ... Huh.
Yeah.
And so that actually, so it's actually weak leadership about not embracing the potential futures of what could be and then doing it. Yeah, that's, I always, like, I think through COVID, one of the things that became very clear is it exposed weak leadership in organizations and businesses. And it also highlighted great leaders and organizations and boards that were sort of prepared for it. But then with this digital thing, I wonder, like, at what point that stubbornness of the way things can be or should be or will be or what eventually will be is actually going to kind of overtake, that old school mentality with it. Because it's super weird to think about the tools and tactics actually exist right now for better ROI for the businesses, but they continually choose not to because the business owners feel it's like, oh, it's not ... Like, how do you navigate those chats with people who weaker leaders who don't get it but think they do? How do you navigate that?
It just takes time. Everything, like, it just takes time. Everyone loves proof. So showing the data behind it, giving dashboards, giving presentations on everything that it will bring you or that has brought you, and saying, okay, this is where it's weak, this is where we need to chuck a bit more money, and this is where we need to chuck a bit more time into it, to improve your messaging here, need to do all that. The creative here didn't work, let's try a new one. It's just all that stuff, making sure that they understand and it's all communicated clearly.
When you think about where, like, say, social platforms are right now, when you look at the rise of audio with Clubhouse and stuff, do you think these things are fads? Because every, Twitter had a wave, Facebook had a wave, MySpace had a wave, Snapchat had a wave,
wasn't around then,
Instagram had it, like, they all, but shit, I'm really Bebo had a wave, flipping, what are you, 12? Shit. But when you think of these waves, do you think there's an underlying current of change and shift of the fact, because people ask me, like, what's going to pop? And I said, look, at the end of the day, it's something that's digital, it's on a device and it's a platform, but the point is your eyes are going more to your screen than ever before. So that's maybe start there. How do you think about the waves of clickbait hype of platforms on social and where the future actually is when you zoom out in a 10-20 year period?
Like there's always going to be fads no matter what. Even before digital, even before everyone was on the screens all the time, there's always a fad, there's always something new coming up, and I don't think it's any different. It's the same thing again. When TikTok was flaring up, they got all the news in the media about all the privacy issues, and I mean, it's great marketing for them. They've got their name out there. I mean, they've had a few issues that they need to sort out, but the name's still out there. I mean, any word is good marketing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I was one of the ones that was late to joining TikTok and stuff like that. Like, I never really thought about it. I was like, oh, this is a fad. It's going to last about 6 months. And yes, that's true in terms of people talking about it. It's lasted a little bit. But like, I just didn't jump on board. Now companies are using it for their marketing. People are putting content out there, and it's not necessarily a tech space, but it's product companies are putting marketing out there via TikTok, because that's where the market is. That's where the audience is, and they'll just move as they need to with whatever platform comes next.
TikTok almost feels like it went away from the polish of Instagram, right? Like, Instagram was filters, curation, whatever, and TikTok's kind of like, here's me in my pajamas.
You got some TikToks of you in your pajamas,
PJs, the kitchen. I was just like, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not as polished. It's not like, crisp and clean. It's a bit more raw and real. Do you think that's actually helping more of the head space of, say, youth and stuff? Because clearly that perception of the perfection of what they expected out of Instagram, obviously it wasn't real, in this kind of skewed perspective of beauty. Now that it's almost come a bit more humorous and a bit more fun and togetherness. Do you think it's actually shifting more of the needle for good in terms of mental health for young bucks, or for future generations, or just younger people that are engaging with it?
Yep. I'm on the fence about how social media can affect mental health. I've got friends and family that are young, that are probably on social media a bit too much, and like when they jump off it, they say they feel the difference. They go, "Oh, cool, there's an outside world. It's nice. Let's go spend some time outside with our mates." I took a little bit of a detox off social as well, beginning of this year, which was nice. But in terms of what there already is currently, it's and how it's affecting young bucks. I think platforms that are more open, that are less of a facade, less beautified, are much healthier. Yeah, despite there being obvious lack of filtering, but apart from that, you're never going to get the perfect social media platform. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Do you think? But there's, Facebook came out, text and photos. Instagram came out, just photos and beauty, and then video on top of it. TikTok came out, adding music. Clubhouse comes across, just audio. When you think of the format battle, where do you think the future of the format battle might be heading in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's gonna skip around quite a lot. Everyone last year, everyone was talking about AR, VR. I haven't heard that brought up recently, but I honestly think that something along those lines will come into play a lot stronger. It needs to be more accessible, though. Someone like Apple needs to bring something out that everyone's got. It's unfortunate that it's that, but that's how it works these days. Yeah.
When you think of like access with maybe when you think of access to education and smartphones, whatever. I mean, now, if you've got a $50 smartphone and access to YouTube, you can watch Stanford lectures on there. Like, you could get a global education like access which never even existed before. Do you think most people, not even young bucks, but just the community in general, are severely discounting and almost kind of throwing away to the side the great opportunities of what free education actually exists out there now to make them their lives better, integrating more tech into the companies, making it more efficient, more financial, more profitable, whatever it may be? Do you think we're essentially, by pure laziness, a bunch of people not getting better when they can? Do you know what I mean? Like, so much is out there now, but people aren't really, it doesn't feel like it's all there. Like, how do you feel about what exists in the world that is free, people are actually choosing to engage with?
Yeah. Look, as someone that is completely self-taught, struggled throughout high school with anything, basically. I'm heavily dyslexic, hated school up until my last year, where I've got to start my own business and kind of get my own little foot in the ring. The education that's out there, the content that's out there for people to learn whatever the hell they want is fantastic. I went to university for 6 weeks, dropped out and taught myself on the job, and that was all. Sorry, Mike and the team at this story, but like the first 6 months was YouTubing shit, Googling shit, making sure that I was doing all the right stuff. But yeah, the amount of content out there is ridiculous, and people need to start looking at it more, and looking at it more as an official pathway to kickstarting a new job or your first job.
And also the real world thinking of these thought leaders in these industries, when they're doing a sit down interview, it's converted either live or direct within a couple of days, opposed to if it's a book that comes out a couple of years later or whatever, the market's already moved and shifted. It feels like there's a big, it pisses me off when people say they don't have time. It's like, okay, well, show me your screen capture flipping time of weaves. What do you call it? Your time count, whatever the shit is, to see what you've been where. And I can guarantee you, it's like, you've probably spent 8 hours this week just on scrolling through some bullshit on Instagram, but you can't have like 20 minutes a day to, do whatever. And so it comes down to these routines, right? Of like, how do you create new routines to get new learning and bits and pieces? And so one of the things I've been trying to do is, there's an app called Blinkist, which is basically like audio books, which are shortened and condensed into the key points. And so I'll chuck it in one ear, and if I've got a quick drive, I'll chuck it in, like put a quick book on, and it gives me the top line points, but then I like speed it up by 1.5 so I can try to get through it, because my brain's just trying to like go. But then I kind of think, well, I just learned like 1 or 2 little nuggets of something, which gives it, gives me maybe a bit more of an edge or a bit more of a wider perspective or lens on things. And I just wonder, like, I'll rewind back a little bit. I remember when I was just starting and I was going to have to get like a bank loan to try and get my first like digital 3-chip 3cc Canon XM2 video camera with 8mm, DV tapes and shit, right? And I had to get like a $5,000 computer to be able to edit it with an, was it an IE3994 plug with some shit, whatever it is, like in some bootlegged flipping off LimeWire or some shit. All this. It was only like 10, 20 grand or some shit, right? Just to get a fucking camera and edit video. And now you fast forward, 15, 20 years or whatever I was showing my age a little bit. You have a 4K 60 frames a second streaming machine, which can go live to 1 million people in one hit and all this. And then I'm not saying like young bucks are soft when they have like excuses, but holy shit, there are some excuses with so many people just for not utilizing what's in front of them. It's quite mind blowing when they say, I don't have time or it's too hard. It's like, well, just Google how to do this and that. And I wonder if there's like, if in phase one, they're not embracing tech because the leaders are too stubborn in their own ways. And most of the humans aren't even proactively deciding to try and upskill themselves with free content that exists out there. And they're expecting results, but doing on the rest. You've just kind of got this formula of, it feels like a lot of macro laziness across a bunch of it, right? When it's crazy, because then if you just put the hammer down, there's so much good stuff you could win with. I mean, how do you what's your take on that?
I mean, well, what would you do if you were the same age trying to buy that computer, but you could just pick up your phone and create content? What would you actually do? Like you'd go absolutely nuts. Knowing you and your brain, you would go nuts. You'd just content every day. It would 100%.
100%. And I've continued, and by principle, out of pure stubbornness, I kept my iPhone 7 all the way. I skipped the 8, I skipped the X, I skipped the X Plus, and I waited till the 11. And I kept it for 3 years, and it was a cracked screen and all sorts of shit. And everyone be like, "Get a new phone, dude." I'm like,
I remember asking you about it.
And they're like, "Why?" Yeah, really? Yeah. And I told you, and I said, the reason I'm keeping this is because I want everyone to see that I can create. And I got like, I think it was like 1.7 million people reach through my cell phone. I was like, I want everyone to know that when we sit down for a meeting, and if I put my phone down, you put your phone down, and I look at your phone, your phone's better than my phone, but I can do and create the stuff, and you choose not to, you're just not working hard enough. You're just making excuses. Stuff you, like, step it up. And out of stubbornness, I did. But I get really, that thing really pisses me off, because people come to me a lot with like, I've got so blah, 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 and then they'll just be like excuse of why they can't. Oh, and then this, and then this, and then this, and they just keep going down this list. And I'm like, man, if I feel there's just lost opportunity for so many people if they actually just stopped, Googled it. Like, probably similar to yourself. I mean, you probably Googled how to export, input, do some shit, or filters, whatever it may be, right? Right now, if you were to try and educate yourself on digital marketing, if you were a small business in New Zealand, you run a bakery in Gore, you've got great pastries, and you want to digitize or try and like
go viral.
101 your stuff. If viral, how would you approach it for the bakery in Gore that was a small business? With Keith is 50, he understands a little bit, he's got a Facebook page he's on the gun club in there. What were the first 3 things that you would do to help digitize Keith's bakery from Gore?
And he's done this all himself. This is all Keith.
All himself, but he's got his a nephew is 15 that is a little tech weapon that goes to the high school, and he pays him in
tech support.
Fresh bakeries. There you go, tech support. Nice. There you go. Cool. That's it. What are the top 3 things you do?
Like, honestly, someone like a bakery, someone like that's selling products, selling something physical, getting those nice photos out there, getting the shots out there, getting that 15-year-old tech support to come in and show him how to set the exposure on the camera, show him how to do all that on his phone. That's the biggest thing. Making sure that the photos are out there, getting content out there, Googling, okay, what the hell platform do? Who's my target? Where are they sitting? Most likely, if you're a bakery selling products, they're going to be school kids. Let's say school kids and tradies. They're all on Instagram, all on TikTok, even all on Facebook. Well, actually, young bucks aren't on Facebook as much these days. But yeah, making sure that he's targeting the right platforms, not wasting content or wasting time on something like, for example, LinkedIn. No point putting your bakery on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And what about
Although could go well.
Yeah. The in terms of you've got $1,000 and you want to spend on digital marketing, if you're Keith's Bakery from Gore, where do you do you feel you know get a little WordPress or Wix website? You make sure you got your Google address. You like what would you do if we got a little bit of cash to spend? You want to set up a couple of key things, right? How would you do it?
First of all, make sure you jump off that Gmail account. Grab yourself a proper domain name, Gore Bakery, whatever the hell it is. Grab yourself a real quick and easy website, most likely Squarespace or Wix or something like that. Get the nephew to help you. Spend a little bit, and even when you do that stuff, they give you $150 voucher. Google gives you $150 voucher to go and spend on their ads, spend on advertising. So go and chuck as much effort as you can into that. Make sure you get all the keywords sorted, and then chuck a little bit into social as well. By that stage, you'll probably have $500 left over. So chuck into social, chuck into Google ads, Google search. Make sure you got all your SEO sorted. Yeah.
I'm a massive hater of fake influencers, but I'm a massive lover of micro, genuine GCs that do good stuff, right? Because I just think so much of the market's been flooded with fraud. But in a situation like that, like you're talking about the tradies, I'm pretty sure there could be an influencer, localized hyper localized influencer effect of, the funniest, freshest flipping tradie that always rolls up, right? And then you just hook him up with a few things. There's probably like ways you can craft more of the relationship in the world as well, right? Do you feel that most businesses potentially aren't looking at are just seen online, but also how that relates to offline as well? Like, do you think there's a disconnect of a bridge between how it literally syncs up?
Yeah, I'd say there is a little bit, if not quite a bit. Like all the influencer marketing, that is, everyone sees it as an online thing, but then you get these not fake influencers, the proper influencers who are actually industry influencers, like yourself, who are people that are in the industry, know people, know everyone, yet are still online. They're doing everything online they can, yet they're going into meetings 6-7 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and still putting all the content out there, making sure that they're doing all the brand deals that they can do, making sure that they're wearing all the merch that they're given to pump the brands out there that they're being paid to pump out. Yeah, it's definitely physical and online.
I was thinking you find like a local classic tradie and then just do like some mega collab with like the ultimate builder's pie or some shit, just like make this like Megatron super pie, like it's the super, like the mega roll or just something, just like a pie sandwich. It's just like pie, pastry pie, steak. Dude, has anyone done that? Is such a good idea. What would a Big Mac for a pie? Dude, that's actually really good. You could double layer it, right? So you have like steak and cheese. You like steak and cheese at the bottom, then you have like bacon or something else on the top, and you just literally like layer it and be like, shit, that's funny. It's actually, so if there's any bakeries out there that want to collab with us, it's basically like the Big Mac pastries and pies. Shit, that's actually pretty good, because well, even just the documentation of like testing and trialing what that would be the equivalent to, right? Like, how do you mix a pie and a sandwich, but for like the flipping the boys on the builders in site, like what would that look like, and then actually cranking it that way. That's actually pretty good. It's a really good idea.
There you go. There's another suggestion: brisket and pork belly. There you go. Someone suggested brisket and pork belly. There you go. Chuck that in.
Oh, really? I'm not looking at the comments. I'm fully focusing. That's so good.
Focus on me. Nice.
That's actually really, really good. It's a flipping great idea. So I want to jump to something a little bit more serious. Mental health. I really am a fan of the kind of the Trojan horse that, and I've talked about publicly. Even last week, I put a little email out around what John Kirwan and Mike King have done for mental health. Have kind of given it a vehicle to talk about the thing without talking about the thing, right? Like, how do you feel? Like, where do you feel? Let's say mental health for men, or for maybe your peers, or just in general. Where do you think the narrative or the story has kind of currently got to in the last 10 years?
Yep. Look, there's a massive stigma behind talking about mental health issues. For example, I've on and off suffered with depression and anxiety throughout the last probably 10 years of my life. Yet I'm always an open book about it, making sure, like, I've been taught in within my family just to always make sure I talk about it. It's just like any other thing you've got going on. If your knee's sore, you go tell someone. Well, sometimes you put up with it for a bit, and then you work out, oh shit, my knee's sore, and you go tell someone about it. But in terms of mental health, it's exactly the same. And I've started bringing it up more with my mates. I've got a couple of mates that have opened up a little bit more to me, which is really nice. Making sure that I'm an open book. And this whole IT heavy hitters thing has been a real avenue as well for me to talk about it. Like I've been posting more on my social media about mental health, about what I've been going through, and all that kind of stuff. And it's been really, really eye opening and quite enjoyable actually to talk about it. And I think over the last 10 years it is getting better, but it's got a hell of a long way to go before the stigma's kind of removed.
Yeah. Do you feel that? Well, first, props and kudos for that, right? I was on a call last night, talking about how you could create a vehicle around, like, how do you get more tough men to talk about tough things? Like, what would that look like if it was manifested into you? Like, how do you change like culture and society where the boys feel more like, it feels like it's started, right? Like it's been 10 years, but it's just starting. But then, you know, like I'm extremely open book, right? I will talk about it with anyone about everything. I'll go extremely deep on every different topic. I don't give a shit because I just feel it's like, it's just me. But what I've definitely found is over time, it's like we're like these early explorers that are leading the pack at the front, you know, the Craig Hudsons of the world, the Mike Kings of the world, the Richie Hardcores of the world, the John Kerwins of the world, the ... But it's just slowly chipping away. And I can tell that it's resonating more from the feedback loop that happens offline with men.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like the LinkedIn lurkers who never like, comment, or share publicly, but then they email you or call you or text you. And that's when I know shit pops, when basically no one's saying anything on social, but the back channels pop. It's like, okay, this one's hitting.
It's another level.
And and I do, but I think it's good, right? And one of the things that the challenge of the call last night that I was with these weapons on was, you know, we interviewed Deborah Blackett, who's a general counsel from Z Energy, victim of domestic violence, charged it, made her way through, blah, blah, blah. Good human. But she said, you know, why isn't there a ministry for men? You know, and if you look at a lot of the funding that goes to the ministry for women, whatever, a lot of the funding goes to shit to help women for stuff that men did. Like, men are the shit one. Like, men have stuffed up. Men have done a lot of this bad shit. Like, obviously, you know, there's times when obviously women do too. But I guess the point of the conversation was like, how do you create more of a vehicle to not be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff of like, oh, poor you, you know how they are. It's like, stuff that, like, that's our fault. Like, they shouldn't fix us. We should fix us. This is not like us, like we'll go around being assholes, but you know, like men in general. When you think of if you had like this little magic wand of like, you could sprinkle dust over Jacinda and the Beehive, you're like, boom, make New Zealand better for, say, men and mental health, whatever. What would you do, and how would you do it?
I honestly, it wouldn't be a ministry for men or a ministry for women. It'd be a ministry for mental health. It's such a big topic, and it needs to be addressed. And it has, like, in terms of central government, it has been getting there. There's more and more happening.
Well, the wellbeing budget, right? Like that's
exactly. Yeah. But there needs to be more. There needs to be a focus on it rather than just a budget set to it. There needs to be someone there calling shots, someone there making sure that something's actually happening. And like you said, not being the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, but rather being the support person, helping everyone at the top, making sure that they're not making sure that their brains are in the right place, making sure that if they need any help, they've got that.
Do you think it would extend out to the wellbeing budget to be the Department of Wellbeing, so it goes outside of mental health into even more of it, right? Because I think it's interesting. You said, you know, this isn't an allocated budget as part of a bigger thing, doesn't solve the whole problem, but it's almost this opportunity where you can really dig down deeper into it. Because I think under the thin veil of, you know, social perception of what, you know, greatness is, and the beamer, the batch, and the boat, and all this shit, you know, like the kind of these masks that they sort of fly. and it's become extremely clear that that's an interesting thing. Yeah, I wonder if it's bigger than just that, and it's of well-being, and what does that look like around sustainability, like mentally for your workforce. And even you look at the stuff, like I always give my bro Craig from Zero props. He's got the weight of the Blue Church behind him around, like let's open up free therapy and sessions and stuff for help for these small businesses. Like, shouldn't that be the flipping government's job? Like, they're the ones making the business run to pay tax, to pay the government. Why isn't that shit coming? You know what I mean? Like, but I love that individuals that are starting to put stakes in the ground to get weight behind them to try and attack more of these things head on. I think it's flipping epic. So that's the first thing so you'd have like a department of sort of mental health or something. If you look at the ecosystem right now, what is the number one thing that you feel would make even more of an impact to help mental health in New Zealand? Like what else would you do to try and take it head on?
Yeah. Look, I mean, throughout COVID, every business out there kind of went, oh shit, we need to focus a bit more on our staff and focus a bit more on how they're going at home. And it's a shame that it took something like that to make everyone realize. But taking that to the next stage, taking that accountability for, I mean, like, yeah, it shouldn't be on the businesses themselves, but taking the accountability for people to check in, making sure your mates are okay, making sure your boss is okay, making sure your staff are okay, making all that kind of stuff, just chatting. That's the biggest thing. It's the only way something's going to change is if people start talking about it, people start actually chatting to each other.
It's tricky too, because in most of those environments, they don't want to show weakness, right? They don't want the founder to show weakness to the investors or the board, and they don't want the leader to show weakness to the staff when they need direction. They don't want, so it becomes that kind of bravery first to be kind of authentically vulnerable to yourself and what you're about.
Yeah.
Like
it shouldn't be a weakness. Showing that side of you is not weak. It's actually the strongest thing you can possibly do is bring that up. Being able to admit that you're struggling is probably one of the strongest things you can possibly do. It needs to be seen that way rather than be seen as a weakness.
Yeah, that's good, man. It's we sit in the middle where one day we'll be the old dogs, right? And the world
it'll take me a little bit longer than you
in New Zealand. Yeah, I think shit. I'm almost like I found my back. I went to the Cairo today, and I was like, I think I slept wrong. My back was like, dude, you're 35. What the fuck? So when you look back at it, like I think I always think generationally. So it's like when I'm 60 looking back at where New Zealand's then got to, and if you had the opportunity to sort of tweak and change little pivots, what are you going to do and how are you going to do it? I think it's good that it's starting now, because I think if we realize if we're 15 or 20, we've got no leverage, there's no platform, we haven't done anything yet, we don't have any, there's no weight behind us to say or do anything. And I love more of the individuals and roles, whether it be big or small, even in a smaller bakery from Gore with Keith and it's double stacked pie for Big Macs, or all the way up through to the Blue Church of Zero with Craig Hudson and Mike King and the rest of it. It's I love seeing others taking their stand on those different things, and they kind of at least put stakes in the ground. And the more breadcrumbs or these stakes that other people put, it's just an easier touch point for more and more people to talk about, right? Like the people who are in these different landscapes, which gets me more excited for a better New Zealand, I think, which is cool, right? But I think we're both, we're in the digital selling space. We like shit to move fast, and when it doesn't move fast, we're like, what the fuck?
Why?
So, I don't know whether it's we're extremely impatient or we just, overachievers or whatever it may be. It's definitely something halfway in between. So before we close off, you've got big boxing this Saturday.
Big boxing.
Tickets sold out. Would you like make a plug for your
tickets are not sold out. Tickets are still available until 5 p.m. in New Zealand today. And it's GA tickets. There you go. So if anyone wants to come along, it's in Auckland. It's 5:30 on Saturday up in Mission Bay. All the details at itheavyhitters.com. And then Blue Team has just hit $20,000 in donations, which is the most any team has ever raised. And I must say
because you got some digital marketing strategy, mate. That's why.
That and a bunch of bunning sausages.
Oh, there you go. Who are you fighting, by the way? Who's about to get rocked?
I don't know. So my opponent is unfortunately had a concussion last week, and we're just waiting to hear today whether he is okay to fight today on Saturday, or if it's going to be someone else. So I find out later today who I'm actually fighting. So 3 days out, it's a little nerve-wracking not to know, but it's pretty good. Yeah, I'll get there.
It's actually me, bro. Surprise! I'm flying back.
Yeah.
We're getting at it.
Cheers, bro.
Dude, she's just. I don't have much right, but watch out for the left. I'm flipping used to it. Hey, really appreciate the. Yeah, I really appreciate the time. Good banter. Stoked to see the momentums that you're doing in the landscape, and no doubt you'll continue to do more. And it's you appreciate your time this morning. I know you've just come from training. You've just had a hangy with the boys, and now you're going to go smash out some more stuff for the weekend. So it's all good. If people want to connect with you, if they like what they're hearing, they want to link up with you, Swaytech, or anything that you're up to, where can they go to? What can they do?
Find me on LinkedIn is probably easiest. Just Jack Downs. You'll see me pop up there. Digital marketing executive at Swaytech. Yeah.
Okay. Marketing executive. Okay. Don't forget us when you don't forget me, bro. Just when you get big, just don't forget me. Just be like, oh, I remember that guy. Love your work, brother. Be great. And I'll, oh, dude.
Don't get me started.
Don't flipping get me started. Shot, brother. Wait, good luck this weekend, bro. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Shot, G.
See ya.
Later, bro. All right. Champion. Oh, okay. How do I get out of this? My stuff
still live.
Done. Here we go. Shot, brother. My man Jack Downs, absolute champ, legends, fighting this weekend. Hope has been a good day, good little chat, and I'm off to the next. Andrew Thompson, totally agree. Do the mahi. Cal Large, cool, bro. And that's us. Have a good day, team. I'll talk to you soon. Go support the bro. Buy some tickets. IT Heavy Hitters. Adios.